It begins with a mysterious whisper of an idea, a sports car born from dreams and daring experiments in the mid-1950s. In a time when fiberglass was still new and untested, one small two-seater emerged from the laboratories of Sweden and the workshops of California. This was a car that few would ever see, a car that carried within it both promise and failure. Its name was the Volvo Sport P1900, a model that stirred conversations among engineers and enthusiasts alike. The Volvo Sport P1900 began its life in the early 1950s when Volvo's co-founder Assar Gabrielsson traveled to the United States. During his visit, he witnessed the rising popularity of American sports cars and the innovative use of fiberglass in building car bodies, notably seen in the Chevrolet Corvette. Gabrielsson, who had long been interested in new technology, saw an opportunity to create something that would stand apart from the utilitarian vehicles Volvo was known for. He made contact with a California-based company called Glasspar, led by Bill Tritt. Glasspar was already experienced in crafting boat hulls and had begun using fiberglass in car production. Tritt provided early designs for a sports car body that could be mounted on a different chassis from Volvo's typical models. Back in Sweden, engineers in Gothenburg set about developing a chassis that could support the lightweight fiberglass body. They decided to use the running gear and engine from the popular Volvo PV444. The engine, a four-cylinder with a displacement of 1414 cubic centimeters, was modified with twin single-barrel carburetors to boost performance to 70 brake horsepower at 5,500 revolutions per minute. This engine, though modest by later standards, allowed the car to reach a top speed of around 95 miles per hour. The chassis was built with a tubular steel frame that was separate from the body, a method that aimed to keep the weight down and the structure strong, despite the new material used for the bodywork. When the prototype was first revealed on June 2, 1954, at Torslanda Airport near Gothenburg, it captured the cautious attention of automotive observers. The design was markedly different from Volvo's standard models. With a deeply recessed grille that echoed the jet age and rounded fiberglass panels that were a novelty in European car manufacturing, the P1900 did not look like a typical Volvo. Although its looks were striking, the car was never intended to replace Volvo's family sedans or wagons. It was an experiment, a limited production model meant to explore the potential of a lightweight sports car for the export market. The production story of the P1900 is as unique as its design. Initially, Volvo planned to build around 300 cars, but as the design was refined and tested, many issues emerged. Early on, there were concerns about the quality of the fiberglass body. In the mid-1950s, fiberglass was still in its infancy for automotive applications. Problems such as cracking and a lack of structural rigidity became evident. Volvo's chief designer, Jan Wilsgaard, was called in to review the exterior and interior design. Although he helped refine the dashboard and other interior details, his input came too late to save the original vision of the car. A further setback came from within Volvo's own management. When production began in 1956, only 44 cars were built that year. The following year, production dropped even further, with only 23 cars assembled. In total, between 67 and 68 units were ever produced. These small numbers have made the P1900 one of the rarest Volvo models. Despite being originally intended for export, most of the cars ended up being sold on the domestic Swedish market, with a few shipped to countries such as the United States, Morocco, and South Africa. One of the more memorable moments in the history of the P1900 came when Gunnar Engellau, who had recently taken over as chief executive at Volvo, decided to test the car for himself. His short drive ended with a damning assessment. Engellau was reportedly not impressed with the car's lack of rigidity and the quality control issues that were evident even on a short journey. His comment that he thought the car's doors might fall off was enough for him to cancel the production altogether. This decision effectively ended the P1900's run and redirected Volvo's attention to developing a more conventional sports car, the Volvo P1800, which would come to define Volvo's foray into the sports car market in later years. The technical details of the P1900 tell a story of ambition and compromise. The car was built on a tubular steel chassis that used components from the Volvo PV444. This included the suspension, steering, and transmission. The engine was mounted in the front, and the car used a 3-speed manual transmission with a floor-mounted gear lever. It featured hydraulic drum brakes on all 4 wheels, which was standard for the time. The overall dimensions of the vehicle were modest by today's standards. The total length was approximately 166 inches, and the wheelbase measured about 94 inches. Despite its small size and limited power output, the P1900 was designed to be light, with a curb weight of around 2,130 pounds. This lightweight was partly due to the use of a fiberglass body, which was a revolutionary concept then. The design also included features that were unusual for Volvo, such as the lack of a spare wheel, a decision made with the confidence that the newly developed Scandinavian Trelleborg tires would prove reliable. The aesthetics of the P1900 are a topic of ongoing debate among car enthusiasts. The car's appearance was heavily influenced by the American design trends of the early 1950s. The grille, which many described as having a jet-inspired look, gave the car a futuristic air for its time. The body, made of fiberglass-reinforced polyester, was both a strength and a weakness. On one hand, it allowed for the creation of smooth, flowing lines that were impossible with traditional steel bodies. On the other, the early use of fiberglass meant that the body panels were prone to imperfections and inconsistencies in quality. Inside, the dashboard was redesigned by Jan Vilsgaard to suit European tastes. The instrument panel was flat and set into a contoured dash that was markedly different from the more utilitarian interiors of Volvo's other models. Every element of the interior was crafted with an eye toward creating an environment that was both unique and, ideally, comfortable for 2 occupants. One of the remarkable aspects of the P1900 story is its connection to the American market. The inspiration for the car was partly derived from the success of the Chevrolet Corvette, which had embraced the use of fiberglass to create a lightweight and aerodynamic body. Assar Gabrielsson was particularly struck by the potential for fiberglass as a material that could revolutionize car production. In his travels, he met with representatives of Glasspar in Montecito, California, and saw firsthand how this new material could be used to build not only boats, but also cars. Glasspar's expertise in fiberglass construction was already well known in the boat-building industry, and they had even contributed to early discussions with General Motors about the development of the Corvette. Bill Tritt, the founder of Glasspar, provided the initial sketches and designs for what would eventually become the 1900. The collaboration between Volvo and Glasspar is one of the early examples of transatlantic exchange in the automotive world, a meeting of European engineering with American innovation. The Volvo Sport P1900 may have been a brief experiment, but its impact on Volvo's history and on automotive design is undeniable. Its creation involved collaboration between Swedish engineers and American innovators, and its story touches on themes of experimentation, quality control, and the sometimes harsh realities of innovation. Today, when one looks at the few surviving examples of the P1900, it is possible to see both the promise of a new era and the limitations of the technology available at that time. Each car carries with it the weight of a daring idea, a sports car that was meant to capture the spirit of speed and style, yet fell short of the practical standards that Volvo would later perfect.